Hi, this is Troxel. In today's tutorial, we're going to actually look at crossfades. We've looked at transitions a couple of times over the past few weeks, but today we're going to look at crossfades and how we can change the type of crossfade that we have. There are several different types of crossfades that can be used. So first let's look in Vegas to see what the default crossfade is and what all the various options are. And then we'll see how we can get those changed in the script using Vegas. To create a crossfade, all you have to do is take an event and overlap it to the previous event, and we will see that we have a crossfade here. If we right click on that crossfade and choose fade type, you can see all the various fade types that we have. And right here is the default, but we can choose any of these different types of crossfades to get different results. So let's first look at this simple script here. This is actually the complete script, and we can get it all on one screen today. But the track event, we're going to look at event 1 is myvegas.project.tracks0.events0. So we're looking at the first event on the first track. And then event 2 is myvegas.project.tracks0.events1. So we're looking at the second event. Now you would think that it would be a combination of the fade out curve on event 1 and the fade in curve on event 2. So let's take a look at what the event.fade out curve on event 1 and the event.fade in curve on event 2 are. So let's see what this gives us. So we can see that the fade out curve is smooth and the fade in curve on event 2 is smooth. So let's come in here and change the fade type. Let's just pick this one. And now we will run the script again. It says our fade out curve is smooth, but our fade in curve is sharp. Now we would have expected both of them to be sharp. Well, it turns out that the fade out here is still smooth. The fade in is sharp. So the question is, why didn't this one not change? Well, the answer is because we don't deal with this one at all. All of the changes are right here. And this one is set to sharp. And if we overlap them again, we can see that it is sharp going both directions. So the question becomes, what is the other fade? How do we get to that changed? Well, let's go back and look at our code. So now in this message box, we're going to look at the event 2 fade in curve, just like we did before. But now to get the other side of that transition, we're going to look at the event 2 fade in reciprocal curve. So we will look at the reciprocal curve right here. Let's make sure it's spelled right. And we'll save this. Now we are showing that the fade in curve is sharp, just like we did before, and the event 2 fade in reciprocal curve is also sharp. So if we come in here, let's do maybe something like this. And when we run it now, we will see that the fade in curve is fast because it's going up really quick, so that's the white line. And the fade in reciprocal curve is also fast because it's going down really quick. Let's try to pick one there where the two are different. So now the fade in curve should be slow because it's starting slow and then going fast at the end. And the fade out should be linear. So we see the fade in curve is slow and the fade in reciprocal curve is linear. So to change both sides of the transition, you have to change the fade in curve and the fade in reciprocal curve. So going back here, if we want to fade out in a linear method, we would use event to fade in curve, and this will be how it fades in. If we want it to be linear, then we would use curve type dot linear. And then we would need to change the reciprocal curve to change how it fades out. Event2.fadeIn.reciprocal curve equals curve type. And you can see these are all of our various methods. Let's choose smooth this time. And now let's run the script again. You can see that our fade in curve is now linear. Our fade in reciprocal curve is now smooth. And if you look at the curve down here, you can see that this one is smooth. It just goes over to the right a little bit and then down and then over to the right a little bit. This one is a straight line, which is linear. So as you can see, things aren't necessarily where you would expect them to be. You would expect the fade out on event 1 to be how it fades out. Well, it is if it's by itself. But if it's in an overlap, the fade out is actually controlled by the reciprocal curve on the second event, the event on the right. So your curve is your fade in and your reciprocal curve is your fade out. So I hope you learned something in this tutorial. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next tutorial. Please sign up at www.jettv.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.